I drink black coffee.
Yeah. Where's that information from?
Facebook.
Podcast.
So you base all your information from Facebook.
Are you saying fake news?
I'm not saying fake news. I'm just saying that's probably the worst source of information. You said that black coffee, those that drink it are more likely to be psychopaths.
You know what else I just learned about?
You know correlation does not imply causation.
You know what I just learned about?
What up, Pimp?
ASMR.
Okay, go on.
So,
Rant.
Right now.
So what? Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Listen, hey, everybody, if you're driving, close your eyes. If you're at home, turn the lights off.
If you got a speaker, put it next to your balls. We're just going to do this for another 45 minutes. So what do you think about it, Mike?
So,
Have you used it?
I'm started Twitch
You
about
sound
a
like
month
you have
ago.
a lot of things in your mouth. Let me just say that.
That's what the ASMR is. So I started Twitch about a month ago, and it's probably one of the, actually not really. I wish I was
promoting your Twitch again on this.
Yeah, I wish I was more prepared in life, but I started the first podcast I was on, 4 years ago. I started a podcast without knowing what a podcast was, and it ended up being just fine. This one I know a little bit more since I've been podcasting for a while. But YouTube, I watched YouTube. I did a little bit of market research, if you want to call it, even though it's not that serious before I did it. Twitch, I had no clue what Twitch was. I've never watched anyone stream. Sorry to everybody out there, until I started it myself. But now I started to get into it. So people are all about the IRL on there, lifting weights, cooking, whatever. So I started to hunt down that. And obviously a lot of girls are on there and they get a lot more views than the guys do because it's a visual platform. But there's something called ASMR, and this is definitely not the first thing that I've had to freaking Google all the time. I'm old and bad at technology, so I had to Google what TFTI. I had to Google was it SMH? Yeah. Shaking my head. I had to Google a lot of these things in the past, and I Googled it. I still don't know what it is. What I thought though, it's not the person doing it, right? You're watching it because they're doing it to you.
You're listening to it.
They're doing it for us, or they're doing it for themselves.
Okay, so I don't know a lot about ASMR.
Are you Googling it?
Right now.
Yeah, give us a real definition.
Autonomous sensory meridian response, ASMR, is a term used for an experience characterized by a static-like or tingling sensation on the skin that typically begins on the scalp and moves down the back of the neck and upper spine. So here's the thing. I know some individuals use ASMR either to fall asleep or something of that nature. So it's not video, it's audio.
I thought it was sexual.
No, it doesn't have to be.
Oh, the definition I found, it might have been Urban Dictionary or something.
You have the worst sources. So,
but
okay, so
ASMR
first he said,
is like
you know, black coffee. They find those who drink black coffee.
No,
are more
I
likely
said
to be
I read.
psychopaths.
I didn't say they find.
But I think
that's different.
I think that not that should be illegal, but once again, when you self-police, you have to be able to call things out.
Of course.
If someone says black coffee, those that drink it are more likely to be psychopaths. That tells you A, nothing. B, many cultures drink coffee without flavoring it anyway. So milk, sugar, hundreds of millions of people.
How I present it to either you on a podcast or you not on a podcast would represent my belief in it.
Yeah.
From my source. So I said, oh, I heard.
Of course.
Then that means it's probably Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or a real source. But if I said, oh, dude, did you hear that this is going on? Or that black coffee is tied to, or something like that, or I obviously noted a source, then it's more serious. But I just said, I hear.
You know what we call that, though, Mike?
Rumor.
We call that the soundbite generation, which we are part of. Yeah. Which is that this piece of information is actually incorrect. Flat out
this entire podcast.
And it's being shared around. And then it becomes dangerous. I would say that, so like, going back to Nassim Taleb, he talks about an aphorism is something where it's a single sentence that holds a lot of power within it. So I don't think a motivational quote, it could be something that just contains more than the sum of its words. So some sort of advice that means a lot more than one sentence. A soundbite is something that when you examine it, it's actually hollow because there's no supporting evidence. So saying something like, those that drink black coffee are more likely to be psychopaths.
Yeah, I didn't want to cut it up. It's just a thing. Like people say that if you bite your nails, you have anxiety, or if you like, there's probably a correlation. Again, of course, not causation either way. Or whatever. Yeah, same thing. People say, I don't know what, but there's tons of shit like that. But my point with ASMR is it's like a cultural. It's a new thing, kind of, yeah?
I think it's been around for a little bit. I know a few people that actually have used ASMR. So Urban Dictionary, I would never trust for a definition because it's user submitted and usually it's supposed to be pretty funny.
So that's why I thought Urban Dictionary would be on par, because I thought it was a Twitch thing.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I went to a source of that nature. If I was looking for I would go to a dictionary or Webster.com.
Yeah, so I think it's something that has been studied some individuals, maybe they find it either pleasurable or relaxing is the other thing. So I've seen videos where people are doing a simulation. So there'd be something like going to a dentist's office, pretending like they're getting their gums checked, and they could fall asleep to that.
Yeah.
So it could be some sort of form of white noise. I think we need to research this a lot more before we talk about it.
We're not presenting this to the world. We can talk about it plenty. So what I read was it was like, and it made sense once they started to talk about it being like a different form or whatever of orgasm, because like being like tickled on the neck or like a head rub, you'll get like goosebumps.
Yeah,
that's what I likened it to. And then sure, if someone's more sensitive or something, maybe they're having a maybe they're getting a little cum shot action by being big. But then I
don't know what your definition you got from Mike. I'm just saying because I pulled up Urban Dictionary. I pulled up Urban Dictionary for you.
It doesn't say anything about like any type of orgasm.
No, the top comment says the sole purpose of ASMR is to relax people.
Oh yeah, I don't know. You're like, what I read.
You come, you this, you that.
So maybe I went to Pornhub.com.
Here are some examples: gentle whispering, relaxing hand movements, smack of the lips, nail tapping, scratching on hard surfaces such as tables, brushing sounds. Yeah, it's that idea where you get that tingle. You know, sometimes. So for me, when I listen sometimes to music, I'll have hair stand up on the back of my neck. They said it's meant to give the viewer a relaxing tingle at the back of their head and or spine. And so ASMR video usually involves one or more of the following, and I listed some of those: the whispering, the smack of the lips. Sometimes it is a simulation. So again, like going to a doctor's office, a dentist's office.
So I just turn everything into sex.
Yeah, and what does that say about you, buddy?
That means that I drink black coffee and I'm a psychopath.
Oh, okay. Let me ask you this, Mike.
Hit me.
For yourself, you mentioned about sex.
I didn't mention anything about sex.
Is it something you think about often?
ASMR?
No,
I just learned.
I said.
Oh yeah, what's that? Here's another fucking
doinking.
Here's another shit fact for you. That,
here we go.
They say that like the average male thinks about sex every like half an hour, and the average female thinks about every 24 hours or something.
Yeah, that can't even be close to being true.
I know, but I heard that well before Facebook.
So we're thinking about doinking right now as we're doing this podcast.
Well, when I stare into your eyes.
Wow. I was going to say ASMR, so it is for relaxing people. I have heard people use it. I haven't tried it myself because I find, for me, reading is probably the best thing that you can do.
Is this feel good?
We're about to get flagged and taken down from iTunes.
How's the hair on the back?
What would you do if you found out you made one video and it crushed it?
ASMR?
For you. I feel then you would just change everything into an ASMR channel. Like you just go...
Here I am squatting 405.
Some people have become big on YouTube just, again,
ASMR?
from ASMR. I'm talking hundreds of thousands of subscribers.
The Twitch, maybe it's just my head putting two and two because I didn't watch the stream for longer than a minute. And so I saw like a pretty girl like whispering like that. And then she had like two microphones she was like playing with. And then that's why I just thought like, this is weird.
This is sexual, bro.
Yeah, well, that's why I left. I was like, this is weird. There's a bunch of other dudes just watching this, getting off. I'm out.
So from something relaxing to something horrifying, are you familiar with something known as the Doomsday Clock?
Yeah, the video game Doom, and then The Rock was in the movie?
So bad, Mike.
Not
so
even
bad.
close?
Yeah, I'm not even giving
All right,
that
continue.
one. So the Doomsday Clock is a bunch of scientists. They set up a clock to represent where they felt or how close we were to the end of humanity via nuclear war or some sort of catastrophe happening. Man-made would be the one. So the Doomsday Clock, I don't think they take into account natural disasters. So let's say an asteroid coming into play. And we could talk about that after.
Because there's a lot of people that we're not going to go into fuck this conversation, but global warming or whatever it might be, but an ice age rotation or just a natural rotation every 200 million years, and that we might be on the cusp of some of that. But continue.
Yeah, so it is a time that is given, and so it's a countdown to midnight. And the closer we are to midnight, the closer scientists or these scientists feel we are to the end of the world. So nuclear war, something happening, some sort of volatility going on within certain nations. Now, when they first started it, I forget what the time was. It wasn't what it is currently. And then I think things escalated in the 50s.
They thought it was sooner or later?
And so it went sooner, which meant that they thought it was going to be impending. It was inevitable. And then after the collapse of the Soviet Union, it went back down. So things were looking positive because I think the world has thousands of nuclear weapons and the world could be destroyed many times over easily.
Now, yeah.
And the part that's scary, a lot of these nuclear warheads are decaying, which means that over time, if they're not maintained, something could break down. There could be some sort of disaster,
or even little things like I think it was a tsunami. Don't quote me. Hurricane. Something happened in Japan onto a nuclear.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thing.
So a natural disaster.
There's like tomatoes with like eyes and shit going on. Not eyes, but there is shit.
I'm gonna call
Google
this.
It. No, this is real. This is real.
I'm gonna call this the conspiracy theory.
This is fucking real. This is fucking real.
Yeah. While you're talking, I'll Google it.
Yeah. So one of the nuclear plants over there was busted up, and so shit got everywhere. And it's seeping into the waters, but it's also like plants. Like there's weird. Just like type in Japanese. nuclear, whatever. And there's weird fucking shit growing because all this radiation and weird nuclear stuff.
Yeah, I'm
going
gonna have you do that research because I'm not finding any
right
because you said tomatoes and eyes. What I was going to say,
not actual, not eyes, but like yeah, shit's getting weird. They're blue or they're
absolutely.
fucking.
Well, you know, there's a fish where I forget what. That's why it became that meme. You know, Alex Jones, what he said. They're turning there's something in the water that's turning the fricking frogs gay, is what he said. That's the line, which is just that there has been studied, I believe, in certain bodies of waters that are near pollutants. An increase in male-only frogs, so it means that there's like 80% or 90% of the frogs in that body of water are male, which is highly unusual, which is influenced by the pollution, as well as talking about like fish that have multiple extra fins or a lot of different things, mutations occurring. But the Doomsday Clock, what's going on with that is that recently it was moved even closer, and it's the closest I think it's ever been in world history.
What's so it's obviously changes and manipulated by pop culture.
Yeah, well, by just politics.
Yeah. But sorry,
history,
pop culture.
Yeah. What's going on?
Current events. Yeah. Here's this tomato, bro. I don't know if we can flash it up on screen, but like shit like this, dude.
That's not an eye, bro.
No, I know. That's why I said I was
mutant vegetable, which makes sense. Absolutely.
Yeah. So all this shit's it's Fukushima happening in
fun fact, radiation isn't great for you. Who
dude, so bad. Look at these fucking strawberries are just fucked. This thing's got look at
the moth.
This is half frog, half moth.
You should play a Russian game known as Stalker.
What the hell is that,
You should
dude?
watch also Andrei Tarkovsky. Let's center this around. Let's class up this conversation a bit,
right,
young Michael.
Someone said
so I was gonna say Andrei
go
Tarkovsky.
Yeah.
He's a Russian film director. You should watch the movie Stalker that basically deals with a zone where some sort of presence, something lands there. It's a sci-fi movie. Anyways,
I do like sci-fi.
When we talk about different things, we talk about Chernobyl. You remember that where there was like a meltdown. Now you can walk around it. There's still a small amount of radiation. Radiation is never good. And so the Doomsday Clock, they've moved it closer than it's ever been before because of North Korea. More countries now have nuclear arms. The world,
things are a little,
according to
things are a little on edge right
a
now.
little bit more unstable, and so I think it must be said. Well, that is terrifying. If we look back in history, there's a lot of examples where we could go to the Mayans, the end of the world, where I believe is calculated. And this could be once again a misinterpretation, but 2012, you look at certain religious sects where they're trying to bring about the end of the world because they believe that the end of the world, something positive will happen, the second coming, or some sort of heaven on earth, judgment day. There's a lot, and not just, I'm not talking about monotheist religions like Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. I'm talking other religions too, outside of that. So I think the idea of the end of the world has been part of humanity before it was even possible. So I'll put it this way. Nuclear weapons can end the world. Like it actually can. Only in the last 70 years has it been possible for the whole world, and I mean man-made, I'm not talking asteroids or natural disasters, but only the last 70 years has it been possible, and it seems like, the risk and probability is going up. And that's why the question, are we ever going to make it into a galactic civilization? When we talk about the Fermi's paradox, why we haven't seen any aliens, it might be that other species, the same thing occurs where they develop technology that is too advanced and too powerful.
For their own responsibility or the morals.
And they're not able to control it.
Yeah.
Now give me some more of your tomato.
No, this is real shit.
Urban eye dictionary.
Along with your Doomsday, the one and only, Mr. Einstein. Right? I don't know. I don't know what's gonna cause or be fought at World War III, but I know that World War IV will be with sticks and stones. Same idea. Like he just knew around the time of World War II.
He knew Skynet was coming, bro.
He knew shit was coming.
He knew Terminator 2 was real. So he knew before.
I don't even know what's more scary. No joke. Like people are going to call me a conspiracy guy, and I'm definitely not.
Robots?
No, robots
AI
maybe.
Singularity.
I think AI potentially. Who knows what can happen, right? Because we don't know if they actually become conscious or whatever. We could get fucked. If actually aliens, we could also just be fucked.
Aliens,
or some of these corporations are getting so large and so powerful.
100%.
Monopolies are kind of illegal in a way, but they're a real fucking deal right now with companies like Apple, Amazon, the information they have on every human on the fucking planet, and the power they have politically, let alone financially, and the fact that they're way smarter. Talk about a conspiracy theory that I don't know much about, but we'll read about it maybe. I'll mention it. We'll read about it. We'll talk about a different one. There's a large amount of people, I think, mostly Americans come up with this shit, that think the government have ways like chemtrails perhaps or other things to dumb us all down, to keep us down to whatever. Something else I want to talk about, another one that I need to do more research on is...
I could go into one if you want that is scary. Two things.
I want to do more research so I can come back with you.
That is true.
Yeah.
And that is very soon there will be biological weapons. I'm talking in the next 50 years, that essentially it could target you due to your genetics and your genes. So So you could leak a gas, you can assassinate someone, and it would just look like a simple stroke that they have.
Right.
It would be untraceable.
Right.
And all it is, they would emit a gas inside a room, and everyone, if it's a crowd of 50 people, it would only affect you due to your genes. So next level assassination, biological warfare.
Or another way, just that same way, I think people are talking about within 20, 40, 50, maybe even 10 years, they're talking about having the smallest of nanobites go into your body to clear up a
that's a
flu.
positive. Yeah,
that sounds great.
Yeah.
Okay, so I put a bug shot in you, or you swallow it in a pill, and it clears up.
It could kill you.
It clears up a flu or clears up AIDS or whatever, cancer, hopefully.
Yeah.
Awesome. But if you can clear up cancer or even a flu or a cold with a little nanobite, what the fuck else can you do with that nanobite?
So, Mike, look up for yourself something called the gray goop theory, which is that nanobots, if run amok, allowed to just do their own
gray
thing.
Goop?
The gray goop theory, which is basically that once nanobots are introduced and they start self-replicating, the world will be done.
Which is could be another doomsday for all we know. So nuclear war.
We call this the positive podcast episode.
Yeah. So nuclear war for sure, I think, is scary. The one thing that gives me positive or safety to go to bed at night is that anti-nuclear stuff is around as well, right? So if they launch this rocket, we have other rockets to go and fucking shoot it down. I don't know how any of it works.
Big guy, I don't know how to tell you this. If this is what makes you sleep at night, it doesn't work that way.
I think there is like lasers and things that can deter it or literally blow it up, hopefully, so it doesn't affect us. So it's not, I'm literally not obliterated. I just end up with 4 eyes. And if that happens,
what I was going to say, Mike, so if either nation, America or Russia, decided to launch even a quarter of their nuclear arsenal, there'd be no way of stopping it. But I will say this, the hope and dream is that we as humans, and this is maybe the positive thing to look at, we can make that change. We can try and change the course of humanity for the better. And I think it's up to every single individual, and this is kind of the summary of what I think in life in general, is to do good. And what I mean by that is to leave the world in better shape than when you first entered it. And that, when people say, how should I derive meaning? What should I be doing? It's like, we talk about making money or this and that. Those are cool things, but what have you positively impacted in a genuine way? I don't mean motivational bullshit. Like, hey man, like, come on, just think positive and like hustle and do all this stuff. No, I'm saying, what can we do as individuals, as countries, as people coming together, communities, to enhance the quality of life and experience that we have together?
And taking small things to lead to big things. Me and Omar can't solve nuclear war right now at this table, but when we go downstairs,
not in the next 20 minutes, but give us 30 minutes.
Next episode 20. But what we can do is maybe open the door for someone to help their day from them having a negative day, and that has a slight ripple effect. And who knows who you're opening the door for?
You're talking about the butterfly effect.
That and just being a good human is contagious. And moving on, I do have.
Do you have that conspiracy? We should do episodes. If you guys maybe enjoy this, like
I'm down.
I'll put it this way.
I like that.
I am someone, I would call myself a skeptical empiricist, which basically means that I need to see evidence. I try and think of the big picture, and so I'm always skeptical, both of trusting information that's easily given to me. So let's say it's a platitude. Someone just say, "Oh, well, this is this because it's supposed to be this." It's like, well, wait a second, where's the evidence? So you have you're skeptical when it comes to information that's assumed to be true, but also you're skeptical when someone presents maybe a conspiracy theory. So you have an open mind where it's like, okay, well, let me hear about this, but obviously I'm not about to just say the moon landing was a hoax.
Yeah, I'm not that into conspiracy theory. Actually, I'm very into conspiracy theories, but I don't know if there's one or even two that I even semi-believe in, but I'm really into them. Let me ask you this,
just to get into it. So we're here, I'm here in America, I'm here in Manhattan, New York. Do you think the Kennedy assassination was one gun?
Yeah,
just based upon, obviously, I don't know, but
I've heard based upon evidence, no.
Yeah, that it was not one gun.
Or one person.
Who did it? Who knows?
Or
but
why?
It was not one single gunman.
Yeah, I love all that too.
Oh yeah,
I would love for you guys to hit us on Twitter. I think it's the easiest way to communicate with us. I don't know if Omar's that active, but you can.
I'm not, but
just maybe he will be. Yeah, Silent Mike with 2Ks, Omar Isov, I believe is his name. Hit us with conspiracies or things, and we'll get a little bit of research done, and then we'll debate or chat about them, because I do think they're a lot of fun. I do think that there's definitely some I believe a little bit more than others.
Yeah.
Some are obviously more in the realm of possibility than others, like the JFK example compared to Aztecs being abducted by predators. Aliens.
The reptilian overlords that control the upper echelon of human society.
Or even Bigfoot.
Well, one that I think is simple to solve.
Don't say Bigfoot, bro.
No. Would be the Loch Ness Monster. Yeah. If you take a look, I forget the name of the dinosaur that was a sea creature.
Yeah, but it looked like him.
It looked exactly like the Loch Ness Monster, which it's entirely plausible. You know, the theory is that 65 million years ago, an asteroid hit the Earth and then it ended up fucking shit up. So all dinosaurs were eliminated. But the ocean, the sea, who knows what might have occurred? Who knows what might have survived? Maybe there was one species in one body of water that did survive. So that doesn't seem that out there, especially, there was...
It seems that out there to me because I think it's not even in the ocean, right? It's in a lake in Ireland.
That's different.
And so the square foot is small.
Yeah.
Small enough.
Yeah.
And then if there's only one, how do they mate? It's the same argument as Bigfoot.
Yeah, there would have to be an entire, like, not family, but
maybe
like
by this
hundreds
point,
or whatever.
Or even 5.
So what I was going to say too, they found in Japan now, and this is true, a fish that was thought to be extinct by several 100,000 years. They found it at the bottom of the ocean wherever someone was fishing. So
that's what some of this does open your eyes, because even like Madagascar or can't think of what's off the coast of Ecuador.
Off the coast of Ecuador, not the Falkland Islands.
No,
what are we talking about here?
Falklands, Argentina.
Argentina, man.
Off the
coast?
Yeah, the island on the coast of, God, dude. It's been a long day.
Peru?
Galapagos Islands. Galapagos Islands, Madagascar.
That's fascinating. When we talk about Darwin, where he basically went there, the blue-footed booby, I believe, is one of the creatures.
I don't know, but there's tons in Madagascar and there's tons in Galapagos that now it's a little different because of tourism and whatever else, breeding. But there's animals that are just there. That's what makes me think like, oh, fuck Bigfoot. But I've done a lot of documentaries and it's way off. Right now, I just Googled and this is sick. I wish we'll set it up next time, guys, so you guys can see the laptop. Those are on YouTube. And others will just, obviously, you have to hear first. I just Googled to find out what the Loch Ness Monster was that Omar was talking about, or the dinosaur that you were talking about. Couldn't find it.
Tree fitty.
In 2017, December 29th, Loch Ness Monster found mystery sea creature.
Yeah.
Spotted in freezing lake, bro.
Come on. They're just trying to keep the hopes alive.
I think it's in Albania.
Bro, okay, so I'm not going to believe this whatsoever. What I will say is that talking about the Galapagos Island...
Look, you think this is Photoshop?
Which, we're taking a look right here. So absolutely. Dude, I wouldn't believe... What's the like to dislike ratio on the YouTubes? Yeah, that's fake for sure.
What is that?
That's for it. Mike.
What is it?
We need... better sources of information.
What is that?
It's nothing. It's a prop. So we're watching a video and it's clearly fabricated. I'll put it this way. You need compelling, so extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. What I will say, speaking about, the Galapagos Islands, is that, or island, I'm not sure if it's one or several.
I think it's a couple.
Is that the jungle or nature sometimes, and I mentioned this before, where people say, oh, like nature's so beautiful, like I want to go out and visit it and experience it all. Absolutely. But I think people should explore the rest of the world, where I said my father grew up in the jungle, and in the jungle, everything wants to kill you, where nature can also be horrific. I'm talking about like...
it's a different golfing with some grass and trees around you than growing up in the jungle.
Yeah, just like chilling out, like out here, let's say in North America, you go up north, it's nice, it's fine, there's deer, there's a salmon, there's...
maybe a snake, but you can find your way.
A snake, but certain parts of the world will fucking kill you in a heartbeat if you don't know what you're doing.
It is pretty crazy, like real nature anywhere can fuck you. Like even in the real mountains.
Survival is the key, is the mechanism with which evolution, takes hold.
That's why some of those shows, although highly scripted, Bear Grylls and things, can be pretty interesting. Another one I just want to mention, so you do your research on your own, is Bohemian Grove. Have you heard of the Bohemian Grove?
Not at all. Hit me.
So the Bohemian Grove is kind of a conspiracy, but it's an actual place with footage. Bohemian Grove, I believe, is maybe a golf course or a nature park north of San Francisco.
Okay.
Where it is believed that basically the 1% are the leaders of the world in terms of money, and there's straight pictures, and people have claimed to go there, all the way to people like JFK, people like George Bush, people like Obama, as well as, CEO or owner or starter of Sony, starter of whatever, go there and basically have meetings and camps with some business talk, but also like what people, this is where the conspiracy kind of starts. It is a gentleman's club. It is a real thing. But
this reminds me of like the Freemasons and a lot of other things.
A little bit, but the conspiracy part, I think, starts that it's like, and don't quote me, we'll do more research, but it starts to head more towards like Burning Man and cults.
Okay, yeah.
Where it starts,
the occult, or talking about ritualistic sacrifices. I'll put it this way. So if for those that don't read any comic books, I would say that Alan Moore puts out some fantastic stuff where he is into the occult. Also, Grant Morrison, he has that series, The Invisibles, I believe it's called. But the whole concept is that those in higher powers that are in command, that are in charge, we don't know, first off, all the people that are truly in charge. And I think that's true in that we don't know all the billionaires in the world. Just to put
or the money that's involved in the politics or where it's coming. We don't know.
Yeah. And so I think some people, again, I make that joke about the reptilian overlords where people think there's actual reptiles running the world. I think that is extremely far-fetched. I think the idea that power comes together behind the scenes is absolutely true. How? We don't know because, again, it's behind the scenes. Who really, not runs things, but if we look at all the billionaires in the world, there's a lot of undeclared billionaires. You only have to look at certain parts of the world. We don't know how much income an individual has. We don't know who they're communicating with.
Yeah, that's just kind of, I feel like, an American thing or a Western thing to make some of that public. Where, I don't know about Canada, but here you can Google any federal worker and find their salary.
Really?
Yeah, that's just law.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
probably in Canada, I would assume
that's
true.
law, where who knows, Africa, probably not a thing. You know, maybe even Eastern Europe, probably not a thing. Maybe Western Europe, who knows. But so, yeah, the difference here is maybe cult, maybe just meeting of the minds at this Bohemian thing. But the Bohemian Grove itself, security is insanely high, where it's in like wine country, basically, where it's a very nice place. I've been there all the time.
So you've been there all the time.
Not Bohemian, but wine country. Shout out to Connor. Connor grew up right next to this. He was the first one to tell me about it. And he made it almost seem more normal because he grew up next to it. And so in high school, some of his friends worked there and just would valet or they would just whatever. So they have stories. Plus there's a mini documentary on YouTube with some real footage from there. The Bohemian Grove's club symbol is an owl, which isn't that weird in the first place, but it's starting to get there. And there is footage in this YouTube of a bunch of powerful men hanging around a 40-foot wooden owl, burning it. And so things start to get weird.
That's called when you have a lot of money and you don't know what to do with it. You start getting nutty.
So there's supposed to be a lot of drugs and stuff, which also leads to the conspiracies of what's going on.
So I'll actually
we'll read on this and get back into it.
I'll share a small anecdote. When I was a personal trainer and I trained a lot of individuals, I trained some high-end clients because I worked in a high-end gym at one point. And so one CEO basically told me on the side, where I forget, there was some sort of documentary at the time and it was talking about the behind the scenes, what occurs in the CEO boardrooms or amongst CEOs or those in power, what they do. And he said, you know, there was just like stories of parties, like cocaine parties, like tons of hookers, all those sorts of things. And he said, Omar, you have no idea like what goes on that's not publicized at all. And so that's just a small glimpse. I'll say something that is the most fascinating because I am a huge Hellboy fan, Mike Mignola, which does also deal in the occult and also kind of some of that Nazi stuff that, you know, like Hitler was fascinated in, where apparently I think there was a plan to send an expedition to the North Pole concerning the concept of the hollow earth theory, which is that the earth is actually hollow and that there's an entire either civilization or there's just more underneath the earth than we're aware of, right?
Santa Claus or something.
But it's just interesting that government bodies, so there's that whole concept, I forget which general of his, that he was going to send, or different experiments that they were trying to do. That's also why when they talk a little bit about the Aryan race, it's not quite the same thing, but a lot of that goes back to Hinduism or to India, where the Bhagavad Gita actually talks basically about, I'm talking 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, talks about flying ships, like in detail. That's more, it's not just like flying chariots, it basically alludes to like spaceships.
Same,
from thousands of years ago.
There's a lot of stories or scriptures on walls or whatever about Aztecs and Mayans and Central American and Southern American Native tribes talking about different things or visitors or who knows what. And that's, I think, maybe why I like sci-fi. Like, I kind of want to believe in aliens. I don't. My mom does a little bit.
So Mike, not that they've been here, just in an absolute sense.
Yes.
It in
I believe,
the universe.
I believe something's going on. Yeah, no, I guess I want to believe of their impact or connection with humans is what I don't necessarily believe yet. But all the kind of sci-fi where they start to dig into things, like how it happened, why it happened, like who built the pyramids, and you know, whatever, like just things along the way. Predator, I think one of the Predator movies, someone comes down.
It was Aliens versus Predators, where they said about the Aztecs. Like, it was like used for
it's whatever,
grounds.
But I like it.
Yeah, I think also it speaks to human achievement as a whole, where you take a look at the Great Pyramids and there's something where you think this is thousands of years ago. Handmade. And some civilizations were, quite frankly, just more advanced than others. Sure. You look at, again,
and Egypt is the home of mathematics. Like,
so you look at algebra, we'd be talking about the Fertile Crescent, and then again, it would go back to India. Egypt, where it's like, 6,000 years ago, they're building pyramids, and then like the Stonehenge, which, it's cool and everything. It's like two stones on top of each other. It's not the same, and it's also like 5,000 years later. So how did they have this information all that time before? I will say that Oppenheimer, basically the guy that spearheaded the atomic bomb project, the Manhattan Project, he had that quote where he said, "I am become death, the destroyer of worlds," which isn't his. It's actually from the Bhagavad Gita, which is that Hindu text that talks about a lot of these things, where I just think if you're someone that's curious, you'll eventually get into a lot of these different things, where he read that text. Like, he's a physicist, right? You've heard about Nikola Tesla, right?
I've heard a lot.
Who's my man?
Yeah,
he's like my hero.
I've heard a lot about a lot of this, and
you heard a lot about a lot.
I heard a lot of things about a lot of things, and what the hard part is, obviously, the main
trying to figure out what's true, what's not.
Well, the main scripture being the Bible, or the main or the even older books or scriptures like you're talking about,
Torah, the Talmud.
So we get bored, and you and I start telling each other fart jokes or whatever it is. We start telling stories or what ifs, or we all have like inside jokes with the homies here. And then at that point, writing is still cool or new, and we write it down, right? Yeah. Are we telling a joke? Are we telling a story? Are we telling our truth? Yeah. It's not like these scriptures, even the Bible or whatever, are categorized in ancient libraries that say sci-fi or fiction, right? Where
I think they were meant. I think that's interesting. The concept of when does sci-fi come about? This is, I believe, true that in Greek. Old Greek, when Homer was writing the Iliad and Odyssey, if it was indeed one person that wrote it, that they didn't even have a word yet for, I think it was the color either blue or purple, so they would describe the sea as being wine dark, so it wouldn't even have its own color word. Before you could think of something, you have to give it another word, and then it becomes its own thing. So even talking about sci-fi, it's like, would civilization 5,000 years ago be able to even conceptualize the idea of other beings on other planets? Because did they know there were other planets? Did they know the Earth was round? Did they know what the sun was? Was it the sun god? Was it an entity? Yeah. Like, once you know more, I think once you have resources where you can find out more information, then you start theorizing more things as you scratch the surface
you
of
can
knowledge.
Definitely, I think, start to wean away some things, but then also you just can't go back to that person's head, and you can't draw it back even with vocabulary or whatever well enough that story didn't mean something to them. Story could have meant sci-fi.
Yeah,
I know people. I know there's linguistics. And people can get close, but there's no fact with some of that when you're talking 4,000 years ago.
Yeah, I was going to say that a few things that would probably, if we talk about that, would dissuade that notion would just be, in the first place, that these are always religious scholars, so it's passed down. So it's a tradition, it's passed down. So you're a student, let's say, you went to Waldorf, right? Waldorf, the art school. So that's like a tradition where you go to a place where it has a certain curriculum. It's the same idea when they talk about these religious texts. They were meant to be taken seriously. And because of the drawings that they see, the depictions that they had, there are some stories. So some stories, if we talk about mythology, on the other hand, they're meant to be stories like parables that we learn from. Or we talk about Aesop's fables. They're called fables because they're fictional stories that hold a lot of truth. And then there's a difference between that and then saying, this is what happened.
Sure, but I guess when I'm talking about 4,000 years ago, and you start talking about Egypt or India, I'm not talking about the Bible, which is a little bit more even Western European. You start talking 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 years ago.
I'm saying they knew something we didn't know.
I
feel that.
No, I think that's possible too, but what I'm saying is we can't. I don't care the smartest person in the world.
No, you can't know for certain, of course. And I would never say
it's
that.
way different than the medieval times and breaking down Da Vinci.
Yeah, where you have it's closer to modern times.
Our language
trace
is
it back easier.
Our language is one step away from whatever Da Vinci was speaking.
Yeah. Now some of these texts we still have, like Sanskrit. We do have access to that. We do know how to speak it. Right. Same with Sumerian.
But you can't always tie in their. What if they had slang? What if, like I said, like you just can't.
I'm saying just look at some of the paintings, bro. It's pretty clear what's going on. Etymology, though, we just talked about that. I think that's the origin of words is something that's interesting when we talked about, once again, wine dark. What does that mean instead of blue or purple? Even so, the concept, there's different words, and I don't want to butcher the Portuguese word, but in Japanese, I believe it's called ennui. So it's ENNUI. I don't know if you heard of it. It's a feeling of listlessness where you just feel with yourself that
you can't describe something.
Not that there's no meaning, but there's a yearning that you can't quite define. And so there's an emptiness that isn't a depression or a sadness, but there's something, a sense of a lack of fulfillment going on. Not because you don't have the right job, but just some sort of longing, like a sad longing that you have, a listlessness, which is interesting. Like we don't have
words.
One word that
I tried to bring this up in another podcast. You cut me down.
No, what did I say?
I was like kind of joking about talking about how I can't explain myself because of our language or how our thoughts are.
No, I didn't disagree with that.
No, you shut me down though. You're like, no, we're talking about this. I said, all right, I don't want to talk about my feelings anymore.
Bro, I take that back if that is actually what I said. I'm trying to, I've heard it pronounced before, but there's a Portuguese word which is say. I believe it's SAUDADE, which is a deep emotional state of nostalgic or profound melancholic longing for an absent something or someone that one loves. What a beautiful word!
And they're just listening to My Chemical Romance is all we have,
and we don't have those words. So the beauty, that's the beauty of language, the beauty of being able to express ourselves, and that's why we talk about some of these stories. Even if some of these stories, so let's extend this further. They talk about Space Odyssey, and maybe this is the last conversation we'll have, the last topic. Yeah, is that by putting it out there, that movie to the public, it helps spur the imagination. The same idea,
some scientist or some creator or inventor.
Absolutely, you grew up as a kid, like, wow, I want to explore space because I could see it, I could feel it. The same idea with some of these stories, or being able to describe things makes us search even further within ourselves or outside, try and pursue things such as technology.
They almost threw out the problem. The best way to invent something is find a problem and fix it. If you're not thinking about, heading to the moon would be good because there's nuclear war, or maybe there's something there. If you're not even thinking that direction, which this movie or someone else did, then you and I start to solve the problem.
Mike, I'm actually gonna leave it on a last note with Interstellar. Yeah, I'm bringing it back.
Good movie.
Up.
Good movie.
Oh, phenomenal movie. I think it's Christopher Nolan's best, and I think some of his movies I enjoy, but Interstellar, he hit it right, which is basically the explorer nature of humanity as a whole that makes us quintessentially human, and having that courage, the ability to go out and try and make something happen, where it's basically a 1 in a trillion odds with the character Coop, but he makes it happen because he has that vision, he has the curiosity, and the feeling to explore, which has been what has allowed us to make so much progress, and in large part a lot of other things going on. But people exploring other parts of the world, people they want to go to the North Pole, to the South Pole, to outer space.
Elon Musk launching some shit in the world.
Yeah, SpaceX. What was interesting about that is that I think that SpaceX craft, I think they didn't show the feed of it launching, which was unusual for them. Where they were
you're talking about over LA.
I think the one that was a few weeks ago.
No, it was insanely sketchy.
Yeah,
we'll close there.
We'll go on. So, hey, conspiracy theory me up, Mike.
So 6 months in advance, every news station on, I don't know, I have 50 channels or something. Every news station is telling me about some fucking eclipse that's about to happen, the exact time and why it's happening. They're sending out glasses. Every commercial is about warnings that you're going to burn your eyes for literally 3 to 6 months.
Oh, you're talking about the solar eclipse? Or you're talking?
Yeah, for 3 to 6 months though, they're warning us about this on the public news.
Yeah,
and everyone knows. Most people know what an eclipse is. If it gets a little dark, either you think the sun's behind some clouds or you think solar eclipse.
Right.
Elon Musk is launching something that looks like a fucking alien or a nuclear missile over one of our highly populated metropolitan areas in the world.
Yeah.
And they're not going to just give a warning. Now, I'm going to go a little extreme, but that could have easily caused hysteria, public hysteria with a lot of people there. There's some weird cats, end of the world stuff. There's a lot of weird politics going right now in the world. You could have easily thought it was a missile.
Sure.
How many people have in person seen a satellite launch or rocket launch?
Yeah.
No one.
Yeah.
Right? So if this huge thing's flying, it was like 5 o'clock.
People are going to, especially with the state of the world, we talk about the Doomsday situation.
Right.
Same idea kind of happened with Hawaii.
Yeah.
Where, there's that
was like 2 weeks later.
Which was just a pure mistake.
That's a little bit more forgivable, really maybe dumber, but a more forgivable because mistakes do happen.
Yeah.
Elon Musk blows my mind because I literally tried to, we have friends, tons of friends in Southern California. They're all putting on their Instagram stories. I'm looking like, what the hell? I didn't think nuclear missile or anything, but I did think maybe aliens. Like, it looked fucking weird.
Yeah.
And so then I go to Google and nothing pops up from the news until about a half an hour after my friends had seen it in the sky. That feels sketchy to me.
Seeing it first. So
why wouldn't CNN, ABC, Fox, I don't care what your news station, your political view is. I think it's weird that they tell us about a eclipse 3 months in advance, and every day, I swear, they're talking about only 24 hours to the eclipse. Get your glasses. And they're not going to say, hey, this crazy thing is going to fly over to Los Angeles around 5:45. Don't be alarmed. It's Elon Musk. Blah, blah, blah.
There's two things. So we'll definitely make another episode when it comes to conspiracy theories. Some things I do enjoy. Two things. The first is that there is an odd sound that has been occurring over around the world. You should look it up. I forget what the phenomenon is called, but basically it sounds like loud horns that have no origin. It actually happened in New York City. Stephen Colbert of the Colbert Show, he was filming something in his office.
That sounds way too scary, bro. That can't be real.
Dude, no, look it up.
If it happens, Mike, we're all cuddling tonight.
Yeah, look it up, and it is something that does happen. There's no known origin as of yet. Scientists can't figure out, and it's been occurring over the world. What's a loud horn-like noise? There's a lot of theories behind it, so I'm not trying to alarm anyone.
No, I'm frightened.
So Stephen Colbert, like, he filmed it, he put it on his Instagram. It's a known, naturally occurring something. We don't know
if it's naturally occurring.
I shouldn't say something is going on. I forget.
Because there's like sonic weapons. People, right?
Well, there's a theory that there's something in northern Canada actually that may have been going on. So, anyways, I'll leave it off with that. And then the second thing I want to say was Elon Musk. You know, he is a huge believer in the concept that we're in the simulation theory. I don't necessarily think that's the case.
You mean like some Matrix shit?
Basically, but that it might be, we don't know who obviously has programmed this, but we're basically in a computer simulation. And so
I didn't know he was into that.
Yeah, so he said that, which he said is ultimately, he said he's almost positively convinced. I don't think the research, if you look at what people are saying, that it is the case. Yeah, it's like I'm making a 1 in 1,000 chance. You know, you have to keep everything open, but you have to be able to also test the hypothesis.
Let's get Elon Musk on this thing. He'll have some questions.
I want to buy his flamethrower. And
it's
also,
already sold out.
He plays a lot of also video games. So eventually, when we displace Oprah, we could talk with him. The guy himself. Anyways, this has been the episode. What's funny, I wrote down some notes. Just different things to talk about. We talked about 2 of them because we went in when it comes to conspiracy theories.
If you guys enjoy these things, be sure to give a rating, a review. Leave us a comment on iTunes. Again, we do appreciate you. Mama's boy signing out.
All I got to say is the reptilian overlords are real. The Illuminati is coming after you.
Bye.